Good morning, everybody. Well, today we're going to start our series on biblical family trees. Now, I don't know if you've read the book of Genesis, but Genesis is the first book of the Bible, and it spends a big chunk of time talking about who begat who. Now, what does begat mean? Well, that means fathered. So who fathered who? And there are lists and lists and lists of this person was the father of this person, and this person was the father of this person. And reading, you might think, why do they have all of that? That's a little weird. But you have to remember that way back then, they didn't have birth certificates the same way we do, and they didn't have hospital records the same way we do, and they didn't even really write things down. It wasn't until much, much later that things were written down. And so to keep a record of their families, they would have these oral recitations. That means they would say it out loud, and they would say that Adam and Eve begat Abel, and Adam and Eve begat Cain, and Adam and Eve begat Seth. And they would list all the way through. And if you trace the Bible back, you can trace Jesus all the way back to the very first people recorded in the Bible, Adam and Eve. So here's what we have to remember. Jesus is the Son of God, which means that he is fully God. But when Jesus was born on earth as a baby, he had human parents too. They were Mary and Joseph. So Jesus is also fully human. He is both fully God and fully human, and that makes him different from any other person. So like all the people on earth, Jesus' family had a history, a family tree, and that's what we'll be working on making, is the family tree. So over the next few weeks, we'll be creating Jesus' family trees for you to keep track of. So Jesus had parents and grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and like I said, those go all the way back to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. So if you remember, Adam and Eve are the first people recorded in the Bible, and they lived in the Garden of Eden. And they committed the first sin. And when they did that, they were expelled from the Garden of Eden. And after they were expelled, they then had children. And the Bible only lists 3 by name, but that's because those 3 sort of become important to us. The Bible lists Abel and Cain, who were the first 2. And I don't know if you know the story of Abel and Cain, but Abel and Cain was the first sin. So they both made offerings to the Lord, and the Lord was pleased with Abel's offering, but was not pleased with Cain's offering. And so Cain, instead of going and getting a better offering, which is what he should have done, he let his jealousy overrule him, and he killed Abel. So that was the first murder. And after that, Cain was sent off to wander alone. It was called restless wandering. But then Adam and Eve also had a son named Seth, and Seth is who will follow through the rest of the generations. So Seth had a son named Enos, and then Enos grew up and had a family too, and his great-great-grandson was named Enoch over here. And Enoch loved God and was part of Jesus' family. And here's kind of an interesting story. Enoch's son was Methuselah, and Methuselah is known as the oldest person ever. The Bible says that Methuselah lived 969 years. And here's what's interesting about Methuselah. Methuselah's name could mean man of the dart, but it could also mean when he dies, it will be sent. And Methuselah is recorded as dying in the year of the flood. Now, the Bible doesn't say if he died because of the flood or if he just happened to die in the year of the flood, but his name means when he dies, it will be sent. And he died the year the flood was sent. And what's also interesting about Methuselah is that according to the Bible, he lived in the time of Adam and he lived in the time of Noah. And he's the only person to connect those 2 time frames. So that's just a little side story about Methuselah. So then we can follow it all the way through from Methuselah all the way up to Noah. And I know you guys know the story of Noah and the ark. And he built the ark to save his family from the great flood. And he listened to God, even when he thought, that seems a little weird. And people made fun of him. And he followed God and he believed in God and he did what he was told to do. And so Noah was part of Jesus' family too. So that's where we're going to stop today. In the box below, there are worksheets that you can print out. And you can have these little cutouts. And I want you to put them in their spot where they go. I'll also scan this so that you can see it and check yourself if you want. And you can color in the background of the picture to make it pretty. And when we're done, we'll have 12 of these. And we'll be doing this series all the way through the summer. So by the end of the summer, we'll have all of the family trees leading up to through the Old Testament and into the time of Jesus. Okay, so you guys have a good day, and I hope to see you soon.